Okay, picking up where we left off, we just finished talking about the question that was going to be probably like a matching question on the phases of the SDLC. So now I'm going to be talking about each individual phase individually. So I'm going to ask you about something that occurs in the investigation phase and say, is this where this belongs? The analysis phase, and I put a no out there because I embellished a great deal of information on this one, talking about, how do you go about gathering additional information? For example, assuming that you have an existing system that you're going to be replacing, and there were some techniques that you could use for how to gather more information about that. What happens in the design phase? Yep, that'd be a good question. Would you expect to find this in the design phase? Yes or no? Same thing with construction. What am I expecting to find in the construction phase? In here, there was a really cool thing that we talked about. I even had some additional information in a journal talking about, all the different types of testings. Remember how we had unit testing in one section and all the rest of the testing was in someplace else? And then the final testing, the user acceptance testing, was probably not done by the vendor. It was probably done by the users. Okay, so remember some stuff about that? You're good to go. The implementation. Yep. Remember how one of the coolest things in the implementation is your choice of how to switch over from the old system to the new system. And we talked a great deal about, which techniques were good and which techniques were bad, which ones took a very long time. So I'm going to be asking you some questions about that. Maintenance phase. Maintenance phase is probably poorly worded. I wish they had a different name for it. But it's all about the things that happen to, change management and requests and all the rest of those things, which could eventually lead you to a situation where you're actually going to replace the entire system. Prototyping. I gave you this tale of woe, and I repeated it, at least half a dozen times in lecture, of why prototyping was such a good scenario. Provided such good results in a particular scenario. So I repeated it 1,000 times. Okay, exaggerating a bunch of times. So I'm going to ask you some questions about, how prototyping could fit into the big picture. We talked about Agile. Agile is an alternative to the SDLC. It's a very cool thing to do, and if you have a very high-tech company and willing participants, it is fantastic. It's probably cheaper, faster, and probably gets better results. But it's not for everyone. So I want you to be able to describe why or give a scenario of where it would work or a scenario where it would not work. Something like that. Okay, the 2 extra credit questions. So one of them is going to be on cloud computing. Yay! And, the features of cloud computing that make it kind of unique. And the other one's going to be talking about the investigation phase. So just, kind of sort of what happens here and how important it is. Okay, guys, this is it. This is the list of the questions, just as a reminder, one more time. So I kind of expect you to review this topic list, the one we just went over. Watch these videos, which obviously you're doing, otherwise you wouldn't hear me say that. Review the chapter lecture notes, which I've posted. Please do study for and then take the final exam. And I'm asking you some cool questions at the end. So after you've taken the exam, go back and do your journal to tell me, how long do you take to study? How well do you think you did? What was the thing you liked best about this course, if there is any? And what are the things that you like the least about this course, if there is any? Okay, ladies and germs, that's it. Perhaps I'll see you in some future class. Good luck.